Yeah, I'm not gonna give any political speeches or numbers, you know. I always hear in the news is like, you know, or anywhere, it's like 2,000 people dead, you know. But you know, it's like talking to my friend Omar this morning, you know. Yeah. I mean, he's the head of the trade union in Gaza and actually all of Palestine. But I was like, and Omar living in Sajaiya, you know, it's like that's where the massacre happened. I'm from Beit Hanun, you know, which is where the other massacres happened. Well, you know, year after year, you know, it's not like this thing started today, or it's like it's ended now, or there's this, I don't even know, they keep saying ceasefire. What the fuck does ceasefire mean, you know? Ceasefire. Like ceasefire mean Palestinian cannot, you know, throw stones, you know? I mean, Palestinian cannot throw rockets, but you know, every day, I grew up, we owned the land, like the Erez checkpoint, actually my grandfather owned it. And I remember I was 5 years old, there was no Intifada, there was no Fatah, there was no Hamas, there was nothing, you know? I remember I was like, you know, 5 years old, and my grandfather come home and it's like, I'm coming from school, and the grandfather was really sad. And my grandfather was crying. He's like, you know, he's 6 years old and he's crying. I said, grandfather, what's going on? He's like, oh, they took another 50 trees. You know, and he's like, I grew these trees when I was 30 years old. After they took him out in 1948 when he was 30 years old. You know, and you know, another day he's like, you know, they come in to my aunt's house. You know, and they took my cousin Mazen. He was 19 years old. He was just married 3 months. You know, they didn't take his brother who had 10 kids. They took Mazen. You know, he still doesn't have any kids. They arrested him. They put him in the tank, interrogate him, whatever. They're like, oh, this guy had nothing to do with anything. Mazen, you can go home. Mazen walk out of the tank. He gets shot in the back. You know. You know, I mean, it's not about, you know, who died. You know, because actually, you know, in Gaza, like my friend Omar said, this like. People die actually take it easy, you know. You know, I need like, you know, I need to come to the U.S. for a month so I can get over the war. You know, it's like, you know, and then, you know, Omar is not like a poor guy. I mean, he's, you know, he's actually a rich guy, you know. I mean, he like trade, he, you know, import aluminums, and he's like, you know, there's like no water, and he's like actually refused to talk about anything. We were just laughing. He's like, how are you guys doing? It's like, oh, we're nothing, we're good. You know, he just sarcastically just laughing. You know, anybody is just laughing. You know, talk to my uncle. I was like, hey, uncle. How is everything, you know? I mean, all my great uncles, you know, it's like my dad's uncles and all their kids, all their houses are like completely gone. So my uncle was like, what happened? You know, I was like, what happened? You know, it's like, how was your house? I was like, nothing. My house is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I was like, oh, are you serious? Man, you must be really lucky. He's like, no, just 4 artillery shells, you know? The living room is burned. There's 4 holes in the roof, but it's nothing. You know, I mean, we just build it. It's another house. We will build the house. You know, people is like, you know, like talking is like walking is like, I was reading this article by, you know, a friend of my dad, Dr. Mun Al-Farah, you know, and she's like, she went to Khuza'a, you know, and she's like, the whole village is wiped out. I mean, it's like you smell the death. People walking into like they found people in the bathroom. They like put them in the bathroom and shoot all of them, you know. I mean, to me, it's just not like another people getting massacred, killed, and put into a bathroom, you know? To me, it's like, to remind me of my cousin's stories when they came in like to Beit Hanun like 10 years ago, before we even Palestinians invented this like homemade rockets. We're actually basically the sewer pipes, you know? You fill them up with some like ammonia nitrates, rocket fluid, and you fly them. I mean, they don't even have explosives. They just really fly and hit. If they hit something, they maybe damage a building, you know? I mean, so... You know, always they make it sound like, oh, it's a ceasefire. Then my uncle tried to go to the land next to the wall. You know, he's like a mile away, trying, you know, carrying his like, you know, his farmer's tools, trying to go to like regrow the trees again, and he gets shot at during the ceasefire. And that's ceasefire, because in ceasefire it means you can be 2 miles from the borders. That's what ceasefire means. You get shot at. But Gaza's only 3 miles, so you have 1 mile left into the beach. And then if you get close to the water, you get shot at anyway, you know? So it's like, what the hell should you go? Just stay home, you know? I mean, this thing happened like before anything, you know? I mean, my grandfather's stories, you know? I mean, I wrote a poem. I mean, if I can read it, you know, it'll take me a couple hours. I spent like 3 hours to write it. I ended up writing 10 pages and I couldn't even finish. Because my great-great-grandfather, you know, he was during like when the English came to Gaza. You know, Gaza, during World War I, the population of Gaza on day 1 of World War I was 41,000. When the English took over Gaza, the population of Gaza was 19,500. Over half of the population died, you know? So this is not something new, you know. I remember the trees. My grandfather used to tell me, is like, we used to have olive trees here. These trees, Alexander the Great grew 2,000 years ago. We used to harvest them, you know. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's just like constantly we're living under oppression. You know, I grew up. I mean, you know, you came to the last protest. I was like, I'm born in Germany, so I'm actually a lucky Palestinian. You know, I say Palestinian. Every Palestinian has a story. There's no Palestinian, no another Palestinian story. You know, it's like you think you understand the situation, you don't. But I don't. Because I don't understand what it means to be a Palestinian living in a refugee camp in Sabra and Shatila, or you know, living on Jenin in 2002 when they went in and killed 500 people. I mean, it's just continuous, you know. It doesn't. We didn't have arms, you know, in 1985, 1986. We had stones, you know. You know what? Like you know the most inspiring story. Like when you might think, oh, you know, my parents maybe have taught me hate, you know. My parents didn't teach me anything, you know. I mean. My grandfather taught me love. He taught me how to love an olive tree, how to love an orange tree. Actually, I worship trees, you know. I mean, you know, if there could be, I choose a god. Like in the ancient time, Palestinian, we worship trees. Trees used to be our gods. Because trees is the one that feed us. Trees is the one that make us alive. You know, that's what we worship. All right, I gotta wrap up. People are tired of hearing sad stories. So I tell you a good one, you know. We gotta regrow the trees. And Palestine will be liberated. Thank you, Lord.